Hello, today I'll be trying out two different methods of making ultracompost. The first method is using volcanic ash on buckets of supercompost. The second method is making it in a compost bin, which I'll show later. For the first method, you use 2 volcanic ash per bucket. This doesn't give you any XP and you use more volcanic ash per bucket than the second method. But this way you can make as many buckets of ultracompost as you want at a time. Making compost in a bin takes nearly an hour and there's a limited number of compost bins in the game. Anyways, I'll do the first method for an hour to see how many I can make. Hour is up. I made over 2k ultracompost. I was a little distracted, so maybe if you're efficient you can make more in an hour. I used just over 1 mil in supplies, so I profited 292k this hour. Pretty good for no requirements. For the second method, you need to make supercompost yourself in a compost bin. There are many different items you can use to make supercompost, but the cheapest right now are watermelons and oak roots. I couldn't buy oak roots off the GE because they took too long to buy, so I'm using watermelons instead. If you have every compost bin in the game unlocked, you need 120 of your supercompost item. So for me, 120 watermelons and 200 volcanic ash. You use 15 supercompost items and 25 ash per bin, except for the big compost bin in the farming guild, which takes 30 supercompost items and 50 volcanic ash. I didn't show it here, but you also need 120 buckets. To start making supercompost, all you do is find a bin in an allotment patch and fill it up with 15 watermelons, or whatever item you're using. Once it's full, you have the option to close it. Closing it starts the process. Teleport to the next bin and repeat until you've filled them all. The farming guild bin you'll have to make 2 trips to fill, unless you're using compost items from a nearby patch. And then you have to wait 30 to 50 minutes for the compost to finish. And when it's done, take your volcanic ash and open the bin. Use the ash on the bin in the compost before collecting it. This uses less ash per bucket than adding ash to the buckets themselves. If you're adding more items to your compost bin, you don't have to take another trip to your bank if you first store empty buckets with the tool leprechaun. Bring the 15 compost items and fill the rest of your inventory with buckets. Collect the compost and store it with the leprechaun and get out more buckets to finish. Then add in your compost items. And for the big compost bin, you need 30 buckets and 50 volcanic ash. You get a small amount of farming XP from making compost. It's really not much, but it can be nice at lower levels. And here are my 120 ultra compost buckets. They sold for 78k. I used 19k, so I profited 59k. This method takes longer and has more requirements, but you only actually put in a few minutes of effort. It's like doing a farm run, so it's a nice passive moneymaker. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video or found it useful. See you next time, friends.